Good afternoon. My name is John. It's a pleasure to be here. This is the first time I've ever been to an election conference or civic conference or anything related to that. I guess you could say I'm an outsider. I hope my perspective, which clearly will be a bit different, is of some value to you. I voted for the first time in 1963, 53 years ago. This year, I won't vote. It's not a political protest. It's our broken election system, which has failed me. Like Joe, I have roots in Florida. Although I'm living in Connecticut right now, I vote by absentee ballot to Florida. Florida has a law that they send out their ballots 30 days before the election. This year they were going to do it one day better and mail them out last Friday, the 7th. And then came Hurricane Matthew. Flagler County shut down. Monday was a holiday. Tuesday, they mailed the ballot. It will arrive in Connecticut today or tomorrow. I'm going from here to Southeast Asia for 3 weeks, and I'm coming back on election day to see my ballot, which will not be counted. I suppose I could fax it if I wanted to give up my privacy. I don't know if they allow it or not. They probably do. But the way I look at it, it's a lost vote. Unfortunately, I'm not alone. There are millions of lost votes, millions. In 2012, when the population was 314 million, there were 241 million people over age 18. When you make the adjustments for people that are incarcerated and overseas and so on, there were 223 million people who could register. And of those, 153 million registered and 129 million voted. In other words, there were almost 100 million people who didn't vote. 70 million of them didn't register. Registration systems are getting a lot better. It's definitely moving online. Huge surges. You may have seen the news about Texas adding a very large number of people through their campaign. So registration is moving very rapidly, but the voting part is not. We rank number 31 out of 34 developed countries in the world in terms of our voter participation. In that last presidential election, there were about 30 million people who were registered but didn't vote. Why didn't they vote? Well, some may have political reasons of protest or they just didn't care. Some, however, may have had other problems. Perhaps they had a disability, or were elderly, or were sick, or couldn't get the day off from work, or had obligations to their children or their parents, and so they didn't vote. Some people voted, but the vote wasn't accurately counted. Now, I must say that the election workers, and I've met quite a few of them in my research for the book, are incredibly dedicated, tireless, loyal, wonderful people. But the system that they're holding together with baling wire and Scotch tape is old, as was pointed out by Greg. Machines running Windows 2000 do not give you a lot of confidence. Some machines hiccup when a crease in a ballot goes through the scanner and it records the vote for the wrong person. Some people don't know to fill out the oval. They put a circle around the oval or a line under it or an X through it, and none of those votes count. In Palm Beach County in 2000, the ballot was so confusing that 19,235 people voted for Bush and for Gore, both. So, of course, those ballots didn't count. The concept of a radio button, only one of which can be clicked, does not exist on paper. So we have a system that really needs to be modernized. Now, how do we modernize it? Well, there's a tremendous effort that Greg described. I think it's wonderful, and my colleagues here on the panel are doing some great work. There's a lot of good things underway. In my mind, the answer to this set of problems is internet voting. I know a lot of people don't want to even talk about it, but it reminds me, frankly, of the mid-90s. In 1994, I gave a speech in Paris about my vision for the future of the internet and how it would impact our lives and how we would be able to do everything on the internet. The speaker preceding me was Bill Gates. Bill Gates said, "I find the internet really interesting, but let's be clear about it. It's slow, it's unreliable, it's insecure, and it has no future role in business." That same month, I had lunch with an IBM fellow, PhD in computer science, a brilliant networking engineer at IBM, and I told him about my vision. He said, "John, you just don't get it. The internet may be okay for reading documents, but it is not possible to do transactions with the internet. It can't be, it's impossible, it can't be done." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because it has no state. In other words, it doesn't know the status of a transaction." He couldn't envision it, as smart as he was. Meanwhile, a 24-year-old at Netscape invented the cookie. And all of a sudden, we did have state. And the very next year, Amazon began selling books online. So a lot of this is vision and can we make it work? My colleague Vint Cerf, if you see on the back of my book, his quote is very elegant and simple. He says, "We can do this." So are we ready to do internet voting right now? No. Do we have the infrastructure and the back end to make it work right now? No. But does it have to take 10 years or 20 years? No. If we can channel our energies, which currently are devoted to criticizing internet voting, I believe we can make it work in a verifiable end-to-end way that provides the privacy and the security that we all expect. I'm sure you'll have further questions about that. I'll stop at that point.